amongst ourselves, but I think right now Joel Embiid is the front runner for the MVP. And I know we have the MVP conversations pretty much every week, but I think that's what makes this season so special, along with the scoring performances and all of that. What makes the season so special is that MVP conversation is changing week in and week out. And this is probably the second week the entire season where I think Embiid has made his case for that top spot. And I think this is his strongest showing. They've won 7 straight. Philly has. They're an elite team. This is probably the best Sixers team we've seen possibly during the entire Embiid era. He's averaging over 30. Fun fact, he's the only big man this century who's averaged 30 a game in back-to-back seasons and who's actually averaged 30 a game. Shaq didn't even do that. So and cooked Jokic last night. I know we have our MVP rankings and all of that, but do you guys think after yesterday's game, Embiid took that top spot from Jokic for the MVP award?
After yesterday, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love the head-to-head matchups. I live for that. Live for it. I love it. And with anything, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say rare, but it's kind of you don't get these kind of matchups too often with two guys that are considered probably, in my opinion, 1 and 2 in the MVP race.
Yep.
And I think Embiid took that All-Star game snub a little bit personal, and he used that as motivation against Denver because he was tearing them up.
Man.
Yeah, no, he. I'm gonna be honest. Even without that, he would have played like this because if you've been paying attention, or if people have been paying attention to him over the last month, he's been playing like this.
He's been.
It's just because people like he said, the media doesn't really like him, or we kind of depend on him getting hurt, or people don't like that he's shooting a lot of these free throws to get the 40 points, but he's still getting the buckets regardless.
Yep.
So yep. He's still a matchup nightmare.
He is. There's a couple of things y'all said. One, I'm really glad that this worked. The Embiid thing has worked out. Like I know he's been a superstar level player for a minute. But there were a lot of doubts early in his career because of the injuries and all of that. And so it's like his rookie year, he probably didn't even play 30% of his rookie season, so to see that this is actually working out, and this is actually, because there have been so many big men that have come into the draft that, we've wanted to see kind of come together, right, and actually make something happen. Embiid's obviously been the most successful. We've seen a lot of guys come in, big men with a lot of potential or whatever the case may be, and nothing really came of it. Even in the history of the league, a lot of great bigs have been drafted and nothing's come of it. But to see that the Embiid thing is actually working, full scale, see that the Embiid thing is actually working full scale is dope. Like I said, 30 a game, back-to-back seasons. No big man has done that. Leading the league in scoring back-to-back seasons, right? Did it last year, did it this year. So it's great to see. And like Blake said, I mean, you love, like right here, this is straight MVP on MVP, top 2 candidates. I'm going to close you out, and he does it.
What they call that? They call that home cooking right there.
Man, at the home crowd.
Home cooking.
He ain't stepping out to go out there.
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, Blake, this is one of the better, like, okay, you're not going to start me in the All-Star game, bet. Like it's one of those better, like, revenge games that we've seen. So I love seeing this from Joel Embiid for sure. And I mean, I like, this is the 3rd straight year where he's been behind Jokic for that MVP award. So like he's got a lot to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder. It wasn't really a storyline coming into this season, but it's a storyline now. So shout out to Joel, but I think he's making his case right now for sure. And I want to ask y'all this, and I know you guys want to make your points, but let's just go player to player because I've been asking people this a long time. Who's just a better player? Jokic's got the last 2 MVPs. Who's just a better player between those two?
Well,
I'll take Embiid.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'll take Embiid too. And this is not me hating. I don't care if Joker wins another MVP. If I just look at player to player, I just find the type of player that Joel is more exciting, like more appealing for me to watch. Because I know Jokic is he's probably more skilled than Embiid, but I just don't think he's better because I think Joel's game is just more like aggressive based. And I just like watching that more. Like I like Joel's going to dunk on somebody. Yeah. When the last time you seen Jokic dunk on somebody?
Yeah, he probably doesn't have a body at all his whole career.
That's what I'm saying. Like he has great footwork. Don't get me wrong on the low post and everything, but I feel like Joel's footwork is just a tad better.
Mm-hmm.
And so he hit you with that dream shake, fade away, boom. Jokic is he'd do the same thing, but his is ugly. I'm gonna be honest. It works, but it's ugly. Yeah. So it's just about what you like watching, honestly. But I'm gonna pick Embiid.
wouldn't say I wouldn't say Embiid is much or Jokic as much as like a finesse kind of, when it comes to his post game. It's more so he's a big like a big dude, not like the same kind of way Embiid is, but that's a big chunky dude.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to say it right. Okay. But I mean, I think most of his post game is kind of predicated on that, whereas Embiid, you're seeing him do all these different moves and just all these finesse moves and things like that.
Dream shakes.
Yeah, bunch of stuff that Jokic isn't doing.
Yeah,
so that kind of separates them.
There's a defense thing too. Carl, you talked about his footwork. There's a defense thing too. Like I know Embiid, the whole thing, because I remember posting on Snapchat. People was like, "Yeah, he scored 47, but he was ducking. He wasn't guarding Jokic." I'll say this: I can rely on Joel to guard Jokic more than I can rely on Jokic to guard Embiid. You know what I'm saying? So there's a defense thing too. Joel's a much better defender than Jokic. I don't want to take away from Jokic because we've never seen a big man like him. Like when we watched it, like we just never seen a guy pass well. He's a once in a lifetime player, and I don't want to sit here and act like he's not deserving of those 2 MVPs because he is, But I just like to you guys' point, there's just something about Embiid where I just think he's a better player than him. And also a lot of it's going to come down to who gets that playoff, who gets to the finals first. Honestly, I think that's what is going to settle it, right? I think that's what it's going to be at the end of the day.
I'm glad you asked.
Who do y'all think is getting to the finals first between them?
I don't know, but I'm glad you said that because this is kind of what my question is going to ask. Whatever. Do you think big men are going in today's game? Do you think it's possible for big men to make the finals and win it? Because the game now is so predicated on like guards and like small forwards that can dribble and everything like that. They're handling the ball all the time. And I know Joker handles the ball a lot, but Joel is not, like a point center like Joker is. So do you think in today's game centers can be the best player on the team and win a championship?
Yep, because Giannis plays like a center and he won a title. Yeah, that's my thing. I wish they just start calling Giannis more of a center, even though I know he doesn't play like he's literally damn near 7 foot tall. Mm-hmm.
Like if we was in the 90s, he would be center. Like it's not even a question. So
that's I think they could, because one for also too, and that's a good point to make, because it's funny how people were saying a couple years back that the big man position is dead. Remember that was the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so now when we look at it, the last 3 MVP races have come down to big men. So it shows you that argument is dead. And like I said, at the exact same time, teams are going to make it work. Like, I don't think it's an interesting question to ask, since this is such a guard heavy, wing heavy league. Can a big man led team win a title? Because usually we look at teams that are led by big men as more traditional teams, right? Kind of look at the 90s, right? The teams making the finals outside of, Jordan and all of that were like, the Knicks or the Rockets or whatever the case may be. But teams are going to make it work, and those guys are so versatile also. They're not traditional bigs. We're talking like a Dwight Howard type of big man. Then I think I think we'd be looking at it a little differently. Like in Orlando Magic wouldn't contend, but with how back like in 2009, but with how these guys play, they're so versatile and they have so many weapons around them. Hell yeah, I think a big man led team can win with these two. But if it's like Dwight Howard or like, Orlando Shaq, I don't think in today's game that's a team that can get to the finals. But these guys, like if bigs are doing shit like this,
no, because you if you want to win, you're gonna have your best player is gonna have to shoot the basketball somewhere on the floor. That's not layup or a dunk or something. You're gonna have to bring his game out to the perimeter. So I feel like that's a reason why also a lot of these centers they're not down low posting up as much as people in the 90s, because their skill set is so much broader and better.
That's what it is.
And the old dudes hate that. That's really what it is. About some of these old players. Oh, why do you don't post up all this and all that? The game is not as slow as it was in the 90s, so you can't post up as much. The game has changed. You don't have to shoot threes. It's the reality of it.
Thing about it too is it's kind of a point to get to with Philly, but they have so many weapons this year. Like I first of all, the Harden thing is something to talk about. He's not been his best as far as scoring goes, but this is, I think this is one of the signature James Harden years. He's having the most assists a game at like 11 a game. Then you got to look at Tyrese Maxey. off the bench, but he's still playing well. They kind of started bringing him off the bench, having him with that second unit this season. He's playing at an extremely high level. Tobias Harris has accepted that role player role, which is what I like for him a lot more than what they were trying to ask him to do. DeAnthony Melton has been one of the most underrated offseason pickups. That man doesn't miss. So Philly, just kind of talked about that Sixers team as a whole. They've won 7 straight. I don't know how y'all feel, but I think this is the year. I think they're as good as any team in the East right now. They may not be at the top, but I think they're as good as any team at the East in the East. Carl, do you think where do you lie right now with your faith in the Sixers? Because I think I asked you, we talk about that every year. Where do you lie right now with them?
My faith in the Sixers is they have been playing, which is they've won 7 straight, right?
7 straight
games. They do look a lot better than I saw them look probably the first few months of the season. So I probably have a little bit more confidence in them now to do something or to be more legit in the playoffs. Like I think the way they're playing right now, I think it's not a doubt in my mind they could probably make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah,
I think they can make that. Now, will there is a question because will James Harden kind of crack under pressure when they're expecting out of him is still up in air. I can probably count on an Embiid to put up his numbers, but say Embiid kind of has an off night or he only has 28 points but on 28 shots or something, and they need James Harden to step up. Do you really depend on him to do that? Can you depend on him to do that? I don't know.
You know what I like about Philly is if he does decide to choke, then they have guys who can pick up the slack. You know what I'm saying?
If he does,
Therese Maxey is. I mean, there was a point this season where people were saying he was their second best player. Before he got hurt, people were saying he was their second best player.
Played like it.
Yes, 100%. So he has a lot. They have a lot of guys, even off the bench. Shake Milton can give you some offense. There's Tobias Harris that's there. Obviously, there's like DeAnthony Melton can knock down shots. Like Harden's had better years, but he's never had a team where he's had so many options around him. There are so many guys who can pick up the slack if James Harden decides to not play well. Even we've seen it before. If Harden isn't playing well, he can still get away with it and win because if he's got a guy next to him that can take over. Chris Paul, back in those Rockets days, almost got there. Then some stuff went down. But yeah, Harden's got enough guys to kind of pick him up if he's not gonna be able to play well. There are about 2 other options on this team outside of him. There are 2 other guys who are legit second options if Embiid's not doing his thing. So
yeah,
I think
that's a good point because Tyrese, they got Tyrese Maxey, Tobias. Yeah, they definitely got enough to pick up the slack. If James Harden, like you said, decides to choke, you never know nowadays.
Yeah,
but hopefully he doesn't. I think his role now, he doesn't have to do as much, so the pressure isn't on him like it used to be, like with the Rockets and everything like that. So it might be a little different. He might. I don't think he will based off the pressure.
Yeah,
pressure can cause anybody to choke.
That's facts.